Wait, can you hear that? There's something moving there. Is that a bird? Ah, and there you can see it. That's a Steller's jay, a beautiful bird that we are so fortunate to have in fairly great numbers in British Columbia. This is a bird that many of us take for granted, but look at the beautiful markings on its blue wings. And how its dark head fades into its blue body. Hello. In this documentary, we are going to be exploring birds. But a lot of this documentary isn't specifically about just birds. There's a lot of it that's about the search for these creatures. I'm currently out in the forest here in Whistler, British Columbia. And it's just starting to become winter here. But every once in a while you can still hear the odd chirp of a bird high up in the branches. And so I have an interest in birds. I decided to make this documentary to share that interest with you. And the message that I want to show you through this documentary is how birds and bird watching, or as bird watchers tend to call it, birding, is a great thing for many reasons, but especially because it can get you outdoors and get you going on great adventures. So please enjoy this documentary. What do birds mean to you? That's a question that probably everyone will have a different answer to, and in truth, birds are important to our lives. You may remember a particular bird song that you heard in a particular time in your life, or maybe simply observing them and being in their presence in the forest or out in nature. But in truth, birds are fascinating and beautiful creatures, and I want to showcase that to you in this documentary. Our journey begins in Tofino, British Columbia. It's a beautiful small town on the west coast of Vancouver Island. It's a place of beautiful beaches, stunning rocks and tides, and beautiful old-growth forests, and birds. Many, many birds, and I spent a lot of time here birding and recording what I saw. It is a beautiful, foggy day here in Tofino, British Columbia, and it's not so visible here in the forest, but just out there on the beach, it's very clear that it is very, very foggy. But there's birds to be heard. I can hear birds all around, so let's go see what we can find. While birds are sometimes easy to hear, they're sometimes much more difficult to actually see, and never mind film. Regardless though, the beautiful forests of Tofino are really something spectacular. Okay, just up in a branch up there, way up at the top of the tree, I can see something moving around. Yeah, there you go. Did you see it there? If not, here it is again, but in slow motion. There. Birds are often fleeting and hard to see. And watch here as a whole host of birds dart by. And you can hear just how close to the water this is. This is maybe 20 meters from where the surf is breaking up against the rocks. And there is the surf, and you can also see a seagull is standing on the edge there. And there's a little bird. What's that? There's a photo of that same bird from that same clip, and the overall shape and the red breast are a dead giveaway that that is an American robin. A little bit deeper into Tofino's forest, one would find a truly magical place. A forest that many of us would only dream of in a fantasy book.
So today is a very, very wet and rainy day out in the forest, and it's called a temperate rainforest for a reason. This environment can get a lot of rain at some points. As you can see, it is absolutely soaked everywhere.
There are a number of trails around Tofino that provide a great way to get out and explore this wonderful environment. This one is the Rainforest Loop. So I just pulled out my phone to try and get some audio of the birds around here, because there just were a ton of birds that could be heard just around here. But of course, as soon as I pulled my phone out, there are much fewer birds. So if you listen closely, you can hear a couple near here, but most of them seem to have moved on. Oh wait, there you go. Oh, there's something right there. So there just were a bunch of birds around here, but they're fairly small and difficult to get in the zoom of this relatively small camera. You still hear them though, and it's so tempting because I can see them, but it's difficult without a camera with, much bigger zoom to be able to get them in video. So as you can see, the rain has just picked up again, but something that's really wonderful about being out in nature is that the longer you're out in it, the more you just accept it and accept just being a part of it. And like, what's the purpose of putting my hood up now on my raincoat? I don't really need to. Just look at that. Wow. And here's a squirrel that was seen on that same walk, and it just shows how when you're out birding, you often find a lot more than birds. And you often have a lot of experiences that maybe you wouldn't otherwise have if you weren't out looking for birds.
I'm currently standing on this considerably sized log, and it's kind of funny because whenever you jump on it, the whole piece of wood bobs up and down. But if you look past me over there, you can see that the roots are all on that side, and they're all vertical. So this whole tree, this massive tree, blew down in a storm. And if you look down at the boardwalk there, you can see where they've had to replace a whole bunch of the boards because of these trees blowing down and knocking out a whole bunch of them.
Holy smokes, is it ever a rainy day today? It's beautiful, but it is really rainy, and it's everything is soaked. All the branches have droplets hanging off of them, and everything is really wet. And yet surprisingly, there's a lot of birds. There's been a bunch that we've seen or come close to, and yeah. But on the whole, really, it's a beautiful rainy day. Days out here in the rain are really beautiful because it has a whole mystical, shrouded beauty. I really found this one moment just to be so beautiful. Like the way the sun was coming through the trees and the rain was coming down, it was just a stunning moment. think you can hear me saying that there, and I didn't think my one camera did a good enough job, so I pulled out my phone.
I'm not sure if my other camera did this moment justice, so taking another video on my phone. Wow, it's so beautiful. It's difficult to capture, but the water just seems to add, the rain just seems to add another dimension, like a certain other crispness to it. And with the sun coming out, wow, it's so beautiful. What a day.
This is a location a few kilometers away from the beautiful rainforest that we just saw. For only being a short distance away, the overall feeling of the forest is very different.
I'm currently in the forest near Ukilit, and Ukilit is a little town a little ways off Tofino. And the forest is thick here, and as a result, it is very difficult to spot birds. You can hear them every once in a while, but they are difficult to spot. We'll see what we can find, see what we can hear, and explore the forest a little bit looking for birds. This really is where the land meets the sea. The water is crashing up against the dark rocks and the fog is coming in from offshore. This is really a beautiful spot of nature.
There's definitely a certain harsh beauty to these rugged rocks and coasts. The way the trees cling to the edge of the shore. Ah, but there. That sounds like what we were looking for. Birds. Oh, that's definitely a bird. I've seen quite a number of chestnut-backed chickadees around Tofino, so I wouldn't be surprised if these are those. I wasn't able to find too many birds on this trail, so let's just watch this for a minute. But even if the birds' sightings were limited, certainly a lot were heard. And even then, the scenery was just so beautiful. As the rain added another level of crispness to the forest in Tofino, the mist here did the same. And here's our old friend from the beginning, the Steller's jay. And here you can see there's a female belted kingfisher that we saw. But I'd heard of a trail from near where we were staying to the Tofino mudflats, which is a location that's known to have many birds at some times of the year. I decided to go follow it.
Alright, so just on. Oh, that wasn't good. Okay. Just could have lost an eye there. Need to watch where I'm going. Alright, so Just on a trail right now that we expected to just be a short trail over to the Tofino mudflats. It's turning into a far longer trail than expected. We thought it was just going to go across the peninsula that Tofino's on, but turns out that it goes along the peninsula a long ways and then turns out towards the water. So as you can see, it's raining fairly heavily, so we're all geared up. Yeah, it's just an example of how birding can take you on great adventures at times, because the main purpose of our trip was to go and look for birds in the mudflats, but holy smokes, bit off a little bit more than we bargained. Okay, so it looks like we weren't walking all this way for nothing. There's a sign. That's the sign we've been looking for. So we have arrived at the end of the trail. Alright, we've finally made it. It is beautiful. You can see a few birds here and there, but the scenery is pretty spectacular. Lots of small little islands, exactly what you think of when you think of coastal British Columbia. It's beautiful.
That there's an osprey. You can see it flying against the wind. That was a fairly windy day in addition to a rainy one.
That's still the osprey?
That's the osprey. It's looking for fish.
You can hear me consulting my dad for advice there. He was with me when we went out there, and his duck identification is far better than mine, so he was able to identify that flock of ducks as a flock of mergansers. And there is another flock of ducks that we saw.
So I just looked out my window a few minutes ago and I saw that it really has gotten quite beautiful. The heavy rains earlier today have taken all the dust and such out of the air, and the air is so clear right now. It's beautifully clear, so I just decided to come out today, and it's a really beautiful day here in Tofino. We head back home for Vancouver later tomorrow, so it's a really beautiful last day here for now.
I then proceed to have difficulty crossing a river that's barely 2 centimeters deep.
But how do I cross this stream? That was trickier than I expected.
Nature has untold beauty when we actually get out and try to see it. And as I've said, I think that birding is truly a way of getting out to see that wonderful natural beauty that exists.
Well, it started raining again now, so I'm heading back. Wow. I've really found the rain this weekend to be really, really beautiful. Just adds to the scenery so much. Tofino, British Columbia. What a place.
While I was in Tofino, I also spent a fair bit of time on Long Beach birding. Here you can see some small shorebirds, possibly semi-palmated plovers or killdeer. And here's a large flock of seagulls that I saw. One time I got a little bit more than I bargained for when I ran into a black bear. I heard some twig snapping in the bush behind me, and I sprinted away down the beach, which is exactly what you're not supposed to do when dealing with wild animals. This isn't to scare anyone. Birding is generally a fairly safe activity, but you have to accept that if you're in the outdoors, encounters like this do happen. The next part of our journey takes place near my home in Howe Sound, near Vancouver. I'm near my house right now, and just in the forest here, you can hear there are birds everywhere around here. And the whole purpose of this sort of section of the documentary is just to show you how you don't need to go terribly far to experience birds. You can go just a little ways away from your home to get this wonderful window into the natural world. So for this part, I'm going to be staying fairly close to my house and documenting a whole bunch of birds just on my camera and showing you the wonders of the avian world so close to home. Well, you can certainly hear there's a few birds nearby. Ah, and there's one of those birds. It's kind of difficult to see from this video, but it looks to me like a song sparrow. Oh, what's that, I wonder? That looks to me like a Pacific wren. And here's two crows I was able to catch flying overhead. And there's a very thrush. So I just decided to come out for a little bit of birding, but it is definitely starting to get dark. It's sort of borderline winter here, but I can definitely hear birds. As a matter of fact, there's a couple right there. Two spotted towhees up in the tree there. As you can see, it was definitely starting to get dark. Yeah, so aside from those towhees up in the tree there, I haven't really seen a whole lot of birds. I heard one when I was coming out here, and I think I might every once in a while hear a hummingbird out here. But other than that, not really much of anything. Sometimes there's a kingfisher out here by the water, but probably because it's dark, I can't really see it right now. This is a maybe 2-minute walk out from where I live. Yeah, and if you can just find little places to go near your house to look for different birds and just to get outdoors, always good in my eyes. And because I loved filming in Tofino so much, I felt I needed to go back and get a little bit more footage. Well, it's been pretty pretty stormy all day, so I just broke a little while ago. So decided to come out on the beach and look for a few birds. The clouds and such are actually quite beautiful right now. A little bit of a chilly wind, as you can see with my toque and raincoat. It's not raining, but it's going to help break the wind. There's hardly anyone out on the beach. Yeah, but see what I can find. I just saw a bird back there that I don't know what it is, so I need to work on that, try and figure it out. I saw it the other day again too, so I need to use some resources to try and figure out what that is. I've been out on the beach here a few times over the last couple days, looking for different birds, or really any that I can find, which is sort of been the story of this documentary, is just get outside, look for birds, see what you can find, and I found lots of stuff. Got a whole bunch of checklists 2 days ago, different birds that I saw, so yeah, see what I can find now. Not even any seagulls, crows, nothing. Like nothing. I mean, what creature would want to be out in this? But I mean, aside from that one bird that I saw at the start of this little walk, I haven't really seen anything. So going that way. Tofino has this thing that it often advertises as a storm watching destination. Now, as you can see, as you should know by this point in the documentary, I'm a bird watcher, and not a very experienced one at that. But I wouldn't consider myself a person who watches storms. But funny one is that cloud out there looks to me like a storm. I mean, I'm not sure if the camera's really showing it well, but that thing out there, that looks like a storm to me. The forest, with just the darkness of the recently set sun and just the storm and everything, just look kind of like some sort of a dark, I don't want to say evil, but mysterious forest that you would read about in like a fantasy book or something. Just like the dark, shrouded trees blowing in the chilly wind. I don't know. Maybe it's just me that feels that way. I'd say the rocks add to the dark, mysterious feeling. Yeah, there's no birds up here either, or at least none that are singing. So, word of advice, if you're looking for birds, unless you're looking for some very specific birds that I'm not familiar with, don't do exactly what I did. I'm out after sundown in a storm looking for birds. I mean, there may be some successful birders who are watching this and thinking about how wrong I am on that statement, but generally I'd say, oh wait, I just heard something. Do me if I'm wrong. Ooh, sketchy forest.
Get you, forest. So I could hear one or possibly more birds calling, but I have no idea where they are. Probably because it's dark. So back on the beach now, but there was a section of that forest where the canopy got a little bit thicker, and holy smokes, it was dark. Doesn't feel like very long ago that I last said goodbye for now to Tofino, and looks like I'm saying goodbye for now to Tofino again, because heading home again tomorrow. So goodbye for now, Tofino.
That being said though, most of that birding trip wasn't that unsuccessful. There was this beautiful golden-crowned kinglet that was just flitting around in the trees there, so I was able to stay and watch her for a little while. It really was a beautiful bird with the bright orange crown. Watch how it looks like it's just pecking at the pine needles. This is a behavior called gleaning, when it actually is picking tiny little insects off the leaves. I think that this here is a red-shafted northern flicker. In my last trip to Tofino, I saw two on a tree trunk there, just a little ways away. I'd just been playing the call of the red-shafted northern flicker off of my phone, and one had already been there, and then the other came over. There's also the yellow-shafted variety of the northern flicker, but these are definitely the red-shafted ones. And it was on this trip that I truly began to appreciate both the tremendous cuteness and abundance of this bird, the Pacific wren. I hadn't really seen them before, and then all of a sudden, everywhere I looked, there was one. There's another. Another. And another. One more. Oh. Nope, that's a song sparrow. And here's at a location near Tofino known as Grace Bay. That is a common murre, and I saw two of those. I must say that just when you're out birding, you tend to see some of the most beautiful sights that maybe you wouldn't have seen if you hadn't had that reason to go outdoors. And oftentimes it's nice to just wander around in nature without a real purpose for being there, but sometimes it's helpful to have somewhat of an objective to be searching for something.
If this documentary is showing you anything, I hope that it's that birds and birding are such a wonderful window into the natural world and a wonderful way to get outdoors and appreciate nature. I have had a tremendous amount of fun working on this documentary and getting all the footage that you've just seen. And I hope that you get to experience this same joy by going out and birding. The thing is, though, that what many people don't understand is that birds are in trouble.
This study from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, which is one of the authorities on all things birds, shows that birds really are in serious trouble. Look, nearly 3 billion birds gone since 1970. This is a serious problem. This is a lot of birds and a lot of North America's bird population. And it's not just endangered or rare birds. This is everyday, main, common birds that you see that are having serious reductions in their populations. But look here. 7 simple things that you can do to help birds. Let's read the list. Make windows safer. Keep cats indoors. Plant native species. Avoid pesticides. Drink coffee that's good for birds. Protect our planet from plastics. And birdwatch. And you can record and submit your birdwatching findings through organizations like eBird that take that information and share with other birders, but also allow that information to be used for science and for studies like this one to help monitor bird populations and help.
We need to stop this trend if we are going to continue to be able to have this wonderful, huge variety of species that birds encompass. So what I have to say is this. Take steps to make your life more environmentally friendly, more bird friendly, and get outdoors. Get outdoors, go birding, and go appreciate nature. As you've seen, this documentary can lead to some pretty amazing adventures, and I've certainly had a lot of fun working on this. So I hope that you can experience this same joy that I have found out bird watching. See you in the field.
I hope this documentary has helped to inspire you and encourage you to go out and go birding. Go and appreciate the wonder of birds. Thanks for watching. Here are a few photos that I took over the course of filming for this project. Here are also a few links of different resources and sources that I used over the course of this project to help me along. Thank you for your time.